Now that we've discussed the world's natural resources, let's explore some of our own. Miss Timberlake, it's a beautiful night.
Well, that's obviously Doris Day on the left of the screen, but who's that strange, mysterious presence on the right? Could it be Cary Grant? We're just seeing the end of his nose there. It could be, because this movie, That Touch of Mink, was shot in widescreen, but when you look at it at home video, you're losing half the picture. And on this special edition of Siskel and Ebert, we're going to talk about what's wrong with home video and how it might be improved. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. We're going to be looking now at strange disappearing widescreen images. Other problems include movie subtitles that are too faint to be read on TV screens, and about the trend toward more hits and fewer offbeat tapes in the nation video stores. This is important because, according to a recent survey, nearly twice as many people say they would rather see the same first-run movie at home rather than in a theater, even if the price were the same. So the video revolution is not a revolution anymore, it's won. How well are they doing with video? Two big problems of movies on cassette. The first is how to deal with widescreen movies shown on your not-so-wide TV set. What do? Well, they can either chop off the sides of the image, or they can pan and scan back and forth until you get seasick. Here's an example of the chopping off the sides approach from That Touch of Mink. Doris Day and Cary Grant are visiting Yankee Stadium, sitting right in the Yankee dugout, but the way they've cropped it, you can hear Doris Day, but you can't see her.
Mike! Hey up! Shake your head! Your eyeballs are stuck! Well, it was a ball. It was that far from the plate.
Later in the same scene, Yogi Berra is talking, but where is Yogi?
Mickey, you saw that pitch. It was a ball, wasn't it?
It looked like it.
You're out of the game, Mandel.
What? Roger, how'd that pitch look to you?
It could have missed the corner.
You're out, Maris.
Yogi.
It's a perfect strike. The ump was right.
I don't like sarcasm, Berra. You're out of the game, too.
I bet that isn't too popular in the Berra household. Hey, where's my shot? Scenes like that almost make the movie funny enough to rent, but not quite. It's as if the ends of a painting were chopped off because they didn't fit on your wall. That Touch of Mink may not be the most important film, but this kind of chopping is being done to great films.
Obviously, what they did, and often do in the case of widescreen movies, they just take the middle, and they don't even bother to see if anything is there. It's funny that you hear her voice and you don't even know she's in the dugout.
Exactly.
Then when you see her, you can't see who she's talking to. Then she talks to somebody, you can't see who that is.
I know.
And then
At this point, you push the off button.
You're sitting there saying, gee, maybe my TV set is half in my neighbor's house. Maybe that's the problem. Here's another horrible example of how they destroy widescreen movies when they try to cram them into the video format. If they don't just chop down the middle, they use a process Gene mentioned called panning and scanning, where they pan back and forth across a widescreen picture in an attempt to always be showing the most interesting thing. And after a while, you do get seasick. You need a barf bag, and you miss the good stuff. This is a scene from a wonderful 1957 musical starring Fred Astaire and called Silk Stockings. Now, in widescreen, you could see Astaire there on the right side of the screen, and also at the same time, everybody on the left, including Peter Lorre there. See him on the left? But now, of course, we don't see Astaire. And now we don't see Lorre, but we do see Astaire. And now we kind of see Astaire's fork. Now we sort of see him again, but we don't see Peter Lorre or the girl in red there who's going to dance with him. Now we don't see Astaire. When we cut back to him, we'll find that he got up on the table. Oh, that's terrific. Astaire was great at jumping up and down off of things. Now we see her, and he gets down off the table, but we miss it. And so there he is again, but we didn't get to see that. So we didn't get to see the moment where Astaire jumped off the table. Now that may not seem like such a big deal, but the whole dance was choreographed for the whole wide screen, and the fact that Astaire leaped down from the table in perfect timing to take that dancer into his arms would work a lot better if we could see him do it. And as far as I'm concerned, if I'm looking at a Fred Astaire musical number, I don't want to have any moments when I can't see what Fred Astaire was doing.
And of course, the whole legend of Fred Astaire is that he insisted on, early in his career, showing the entire body. And some people now sitting in laboratories are making a decision to cut him off at the knees or cut him
off altogether, because the fact that it was all done in one shot was important too. It all took place in real time, but not this way.
Not this way. Another problem with home video is subtitle films. Many people don't like to watch subtitle movies on a big theater screen that are often too hard to read, they say. Well, the problem is even worse, as you can imagine, on the small screen, as in this classic French murder mystery called diabolique. Binoculars won't help. And the same is true for a superb French intellectual comedy by Eric Romer called Summer. Happy squinting, everyone. The problem isn't a laughing matter because with bad subtitling, fewer video stores will stock foreign films. They'll say, look, you can't even see it on the small screen. You won't go in the movie theaters. Why would you rent it at all? And that means that some of our greatest films, subtitled foreign films, will not be stocked.
The problem is when a movie is on the size of an enormous theater screen, subtitles this big can be read from 16 rows back. If you take the same movie and put it in video with the same subtitles, they're too small.
If you sit too close
got to be re-subtitled at the very least for video.
Yeah, and if you try and sit too close to the set, you can't get your eyes up to look at the top of the screen.
When we come back, some good news. It is not necessary to pan and scan and slice and dice widescreen movies, not if you're willing to keep an open mind about an approach called letterboxing. Continuing our special program about what's right and wrong with home video, in the first segment of the show, we played some horrible examples of widescreen movies that were butchered by being crammed into the TV screen format. Well, since most of the movies made in the last 33 years have been shot in widescreen, does that mean we are doomed forever to get only part of the picture? Well, not necessarily. And the answer is a matter of simple mathematics. This is how Steven Spielberg's 1985 movie The Color Purple would look if it were viewed in the TV-sized video format. But Spielberg, who has a lot of clout in Hollywood, didn't want his careful compositions to be chopped at the sides, and so he insisted that the home video version of The Color Purple be released in the so-called letterbox format, where the original widescreen image is shown with a black band at the top and bottom.
Bye, Emma. Bye, Ruby. Bye, Sophia. Bye, Nick.
Woody Allen, another director with clout, used the same approach for the video version of his movie Manhattan.
We were downstairs at the Castelli Gallery. We saw the photography exhibition. Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Really, you like that?
The photographs downstairs at the Castelli Gallery? Great. Absolutely great. Did you?
No, I really felt it was very derivative. To me, it looked like it was straight out of Diane Arbus, but it had none of the wit.
Really? Well, you know, we didn't like them as much as the plexiglass sculpture. That I will admit. I mean,
Really, you like the plexiglass, huh?
You didn't like the plexiglass sculpture either?
Oh, that's interesting.
Allen pioneered this approach. He was the first director to do it. Now, of course, there are a lot of people who say they don't like letterboxing because they want the whole screen of their TV filled. They don't want any empty spaces at the top or at the bottom. So, video companies have been reluctant to put letterbox formats on the market. Recently, however, some really impressive letterbox movies have appeared on laserdisc and tape from the Criterion Collection. And what we're going to do now is provide some dramatic examples of the difference between the two formulas.
Researching this show, we uncovered a visual classic that can be found in letterbox format. It's a film that I didn't much care for as it first came out as a drama, but the production design of the movie Blade Runner by Lawrence G. Paul and the art direction by David Snyder are spectacular, and you can really see it in a letterbox format. To prove it, we're going to cut back and forth now between the full-screen version of Blade Runner that you've been getting at your local video store for a couple of years now, and the newly released Laserdisc with letterboxing. This is the dramatic opening scene of the film set in Los Angeles in the year 2019. Comparing these two versions is like comparing a true aerial view with a postal card snapshot. There's no other way to express it. It's two entirely different movies, and I was skeptical when I went to see Blade Runner a second time because everyone had been raving about its visual beauty, but I could really appreciate it when I saw it compared with the video version that's normally in the
Frequently what happens in a movie like Blade Runner is they use emptiness, they use blackness and space to isolate the character. Well, of course, if you make it like this, you just see a close-up of the character, you don't get the emptiness over here, get a totally different feeling.
And the other thing that I noticed, which is, you know, let's focus on the part that people are still going to resist long after this show is played, which is, I don't want to see that black at the top and black at the bottom. Well, if the image is mesmerizing, as it is in the case of Blade Blade Runner, you're not looking at the black and white.
Right.
You're looking right through the center of your screen.
Now let's take another example of a movie that gains a lot more than it loses through the letterbox format. This one is called The Graduate. It's Mike Nichols' great 1967 comedy that made Dustin Hoffman into a star. And it has now been released in a letterbox format by Criterion. Here is one of the, well, probably the most famous scenes from the movie, seen here first, all the way through in the letterbox format.
What are you doing?
Well, it's pretty obvious you don't want me around anymore.
Well, look, I was kind of upset there. I'm sorry I said those things.
It's all right. I think I can understand why I'm disgusting to you.
Well, no. Look, I like you. I wouldn't keep coming here if I didn't like you.
Now that's a very dramatic composition, and remember, it was all in one shot. There were no cuts. Dustin Hoffman was in the right background and Bancroft in the left foreground. But look how much that shot loses when it's shown in the full video format. You can't even see what Mrs. Robinson is doing most of the time. You can't even see she's in the scene part of the time. And instead of one unbroken shot, look here where they cut to show her and then cut back to Benjamin again. The point is clear. The directors of widescreen movies compose their pictures for the whole screen, and if you see only part of the screen, you're not getting the right picture. Instead of characters on opposite sides of the screen, you get first one character and then the other one. Instead of three people sitting in a row, you get first these two and then these two, and the guy in the middle seems to bounce back and forth. It makes you dizzy.
It makes you dizzy. It makes you unhappy at movies that are good. Coming up next, we'll show you a solution to subtitle films on home video, and you're going to see a difference that is quite amazing.
Showing how to improve movies on home video. Another problem that everybody complains about is subtitles. All too often, the video version of a foreign language film is simply the theatrical version with the same subtitles, which on video are either too small or too faint to be read. That has led to a lot of consumer resistance to subtitled movies, and people are missing a lot of good foreign films that way. Here's a tragic example. It involves Akira Kurosawa's classic film, The Seven Samurai, which has been voted one of the 10 greatest films of all time. But the subtitles are so bad here that you can hardly even see that they're even there. And that's really a shame, because even if that is one of the greatest films of all time, you watch it for 5 minutes and you turn it off.
You got it.
What else can you do? Here, though, is an example of what can be done to improve subtitles on video. This is another good film, Eric Rohmer's Pauline at the Beach. And look what a good job the Cinematheque collection has done in creating special subtitles that are outlined and colored yellow so you can really read them easily.
Oh là là, on ne s'est pas revu depuis mon mariage. Pierre!
Non. Quelle surprise!
Oui, quelle surprise. Tu connais Pauline, ma cousine? Non, vous ne vous connaissez pas, c'est la première fois qu'elle vient.
Bonjour.
If all foreign films were subtitled that clearly, I think they'd rent and sell a lot more of them.
That's no question about that. It's a pleasure. Another great solution for subtitling movies shot in the widescreen format also involves the thing we were talking about just a segment ago called letterboxing, with black bands at the top and at the bottom, so you get the entire original image, plus the subtitles are printed clearly in white, typically, against the bottom black band. For example, let's look at another famous samurai epic directed by Akira Kurosawa, The Hidden Fortress. This is the movie that inspired in part the Star Wars trilogy, and these two funny arguing characters were the models for the robots R2-D2 and C-3PO. That excellent subtitling is available both on the Criterion Collection's laserdisc format as well as the Cinematheque Collection's home video cassette format, and this is the way it should be done.
It really does make such a difference. It's like being able to speak the language. You don't even have to sweat and struggle in order to see the subtitles. Another natural place where you want better subtitles is in opera films, and they're making a lot of progress in that area. Here's a properly subtitled video disc version of Placido Domingo and Renata Scotto in the Metropolitan Opera's celebrated production of Francesca da Rimini. That's a beautiful production with those great pre-Raphaelite sets, and of course it helps so much when you can read the subtitles and you know what's going on.
Exactly. Many opera companies beat home video to the punch in this method using super titles above the stage in live performances. I've enjoyed operas much more presented that way. It kind of helps to know what's going on, and that's the theme of all of our complaints in Solutions on this show. We hate anything that hides the movie from us, whether they cut it off the top, bottom, or pan and scan. And we applaud any technological development that gives us a truer image of the filmmaker's work, be it visual or what is being spoken.
When we come back, we tackle another problem with home video, the video store that only seems to stock the big hits and doesn't have any offbeat films. In other words, is there life after Crocodile Dundee? Problems, I think, in the video industry right now is that video stores are growing more and more hit-oriented. When a major new movie comes out on video, they'll buy dozens of copies, but when it comes to investing money in classic films, art films, documentaries, or any movie made before about 1970, well, then they're not so quick to spend their money. Take, for example, the big hit movie Dirty Dancing. When it first hit the video stores, there were 300,000 cassettes sold to the dealers, followed by an additional shipment of 60,000 cassettes, and they're still printing it. It's going to go way through the roof. That's so Dirty Dancing fans wouldn't have a long wait before they could rent it. Well, I have nothing against people who want to rent Dirty Dancing. I hope they enjoy it more than I did. The same thing happened with big hits like Top Gun and Crocodile Dundee, though. Millions of dollars on thousands of cassettes, and I'm sure that when Steven Spielberg's E.T. finally comes out on video, you can bet the same thing's going to happen. Well, I don't blame video dealers for wanting to stock the big hits. But if the business gets taken over by hits, becomes what the industry calls a hit-driven industry, well, there'll still be room for the other movies on video.
Yes, unfortunately, what's happening is that you're going to see a duplication of the movie theaters becoming big chains and being hit-oriented, and then the video cassette stores, which we're going to provide an alternative, they're also being taken over by big chains, and they're hit-oriented. So what do we get? People who love different kinds of movies are left out in the cold. Now, earlier, Roger and I today called around to local video stores to find 2 films that we wanted to see. We called some of the biggest stores in our town, but we couldn't find them. My pick was James Toback's thriller, Fingers, starring Harvey Keitel in a terrific performance. Keitel plays an aspiring pianist, the son of a small-time loan shark played by Michael V. Gatso.
What the hell's the matter? You're so fidgety. You're nothing. I'm thinking about something. Remember that impresario, Arthur Fox, that used to promote Mom's concert tours?
Thin guy.
I have an audition with him Friday.
Say, that's terrific. That's terrific. You tell your mother about it?
Yeah, she knows.
You're going to be big, kid. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
There's no question about it.
Most guys who are going to be concert pianists are performing by the time they're 10.
Listen, believe me, it's like anything else in life. If you know you're going to do it, you'll do it.
Tried to find it, not available, is the answer I got.
Fingers is also one of my favorite films of recent years, and I was disappointed you couldn't find it. I wanted to borrow it from you.
Actually, you liked it more than I did. I was going to give it to you.
The film that I was looking for and couldn't find was Euphoria, a comedy about UFOs starring Cindy Williams, Fred Ward, and Harry Dean Stanton.
You still believe in them things?
What?
UFOs, unified flying objects.
Unidentified.
Whatever, flying saucers.
Yes, I do. I believe that's how Jesus came to Earth in a flying saucer.
Jesus, oh, you're crazy.
That's how he ascended again into heaven. And Adam and Eve were astronauts.
I go into a lot of video stores, and I sometimes like to go way back in the back and look down on the bottom shelf. I might find a nice little treasure there I hadn't seen before.
One of my favorite stories is that somebody wrote me and told me that Woody Allen's Purple Rose of Cairo was placed in the foreign film section of their video store. So check out the foreign. You might find some great American films there. Now, a week doesn't go by without Roger or me getting a request for where can I rent such and such. Now, you may want to consider specialized video rental services that cater to the more adventurous viewer if the major video stores aren't going to cooperate. Get out your pencils and papers. Get out your crayons. Here comes the names of 3 places that rent and sell the hard-to-find video. Roger, take it away.
Okay, these guys do it through the mail, and the first 2 will rent you a film by mail, and you mail it back after you've seen it. They are Facets Multimedia, 1517 West Fullerton, Chicago, 60614. Telephone 1-800-331-6197. Then Home Film Festival, rents through the mail, Post Office Box 2032, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 18501. Telephone 1-800-258-3456. And then to buy films through the mail, and they have a $7 catalog that's hundreds of pages long. Movies Unlimited, 6736 Castor Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19149. Their number 1-800-523-0823.
Now, for those of you who didn't get all that information, Roger will be standing by his phone to repeat everything he just said. Please call him. He's desperate for attention. That's it for this special edition of Siskel and Ebert. Next week, we'll be back with reviews of 4 more films. And until then, the balcony is closed.
Raisinets and Goobers are playing everywhere, starring plump, juicy raisins and great golden peanuts. Both now feature creamy Nestle milk chocolate. Glade 2, the long-lasting air freshener that brings outdoor freshness indoors. Glade 2. Travel with Bailey Luggage. Luggage for your lifestyle. Made in America from ballistic nylon. Guaranteed for a lifetime by Bailey. Tappan Sure Cook Space Saver Microwave is perfect for kitchens where space is at a premium. Tappan Touch solid state controls, automatic temperature probe, and wood grain decor. Furnished by Tappan.